Hello, good morning. We're alive and awake, and that means it's a good day, right? These are the things that I tell myself. And I hope that you have noticed I've swapped out my music for some nice spooky October Halloween-ish themed stuff. Good music to paint to, at least for now. You know, it's all about your mood, right? So I hope you have your coffee or your tea or whatever you need to get your day started well, and something creative to think about or work on or just watch me painting. I am this, well, words. I haven't had that much coffee yet. This is my third session working on this painting, and if you would like to follow along and see the rest, you can always go back. I have the first two videos linked in the description, and like and subscribe if you enjoy the process, and you could see how we get to the ending of this guy, this girl, this lady. But yes, I am Lynell Ingram. This is my channel, Paint Fumes. Welcome and thank you for joining me. I see Jim is there. Hello, Jim. So yeah, we're just getting ready to keep going. I will be painting and chatting as I usually do, at least somewhat, because, you know, sometimes painting and talking at the same time can be a little hard. And some very long pauses. I was watching one of my last streams the other day and I'm like, wow, 3 words pause, 3 words pause. It's because I'm painting. It's because, you know, 2 things at a time. It's kind of hard sometimes. Anyway, I'm excited to continue on this lady. Keep wanting to say guy because I just call everything and everybody and everyone guy for no reason at all. It's just a thing. So I hope to offend nobody. So I am going to be continuing to work with acrylic paints. I have my Liquitex slow dry medium. It's a drying time, yeah, just like it says. It's supposed to slow the drying time of the paints because acrylics dry really fast. So I'm going to work on that with my thing. I'm trying to see. Yeah, a little train going. It's moving right along. Yeah, I have my a little screen, my little iPad up here so I can see the chat in front of me while I'm working, and of course I have a lamp right there also so that I'm not in complete shadow, and that of course casts a nice little glare, really very good glare on the screen. Okay, this is very like liquidy compared to the paints out of the tube, so I'm gonna start with just putting my paints down on my palette. And I'm going to zoom out just a hair because then I think you can see what I'm doing. I have my palette, which is just a paper palette, and I very vicariously prop it in here. Just slide it in, lean it up against these little knobs, and it'll sort of sit there for me for a little bit. Not long, it's very vicarious, and it is asking for trouble. And if you know me, I'm really good at dropping things. So yeah, it is definitely dangerous. Little rag. Let's get this locked down a little bit. All right, we're getting ready to go. So last time I did some fixing to the face. There's still a couple things I'd like to continue to kind of work on adjusting and refining. Like the shadow here is too light. I will do a little bit more with the background, probably at least one more layer on there before I go back in and continue to work on the hair also. And then the icing on the cake eventually is going to be doing her clown makeup, which I'm very excited about. That'll be the fun stuff. So I don't know how quickly I will get to really digging into that, but let's start building my palette. And I'm going to go not huge amounts. I'm sure I'll have to reload quite a bit, but I always end up wasting some paint and it kills me inside, so we're going to try to avoid doing that. I'm starting with yellow oxide. Yellow oxide. That's kind of a go-to on my palette. I use that a lot in my mixing and blending. Much more than I do like a traditional yellow or cadmium yellow light or any tone like that. I use, yeah, I mean, I have it because there are some times where that's what you need, but and Payne's Gray, which is, I mean, basically right here is almost the purely this color, not mixed with anything. So it's fairly close to a black when it's painted on heavy. It is a dark gray with cool undertones. So yeah, okay. I was just saying, I just noticed it tells you what the pigments are. So ivory black, which has a blue undertone to it, and ultramarine blue, which, hey, blue. So, okay. Continuing on, I have absolutely no rhyme or reason to where I'm putting these things on my palette, apparently. Gotta have a little chaos on the day. All right. Also, as long as it's a spooky day, I gotta show you this amazing thing. A friend of mine bought me this vase for my birthday. Is that not the coolest thing? I have a long history of absolutely being kind of obsessed with anatomical heart and using it in artwork and drawing it, and kind of as a, well, pretty obvious metaphor, but just amazing. I love that. So much love. All right, what other paints am I looking for here? I've been using a little bit of burnt sienna. On the background, the underpainting, which was sort of like a red to orange, kind of gradient, I was just cadmium red. And what is the orange? What is my orange? And hey, cadmium-free orange. That is, those were the tones that I just used very simply to just create like a great big gradient across the board. So I'm going to... I have such a mess going on over here. Where is my... Aha! Behind my water. My red. Oh, it wasn't cadmium red. My mistake. Naphthol red. There you have it. Every time I open this tube, because the top breaks off and I always forget that it's broken. Every time it makes me mad. I hate these caps. You'll hear me saying it 100 times. I hate these caps. Anyway. As I, tear the skin off my hands trying to open them. What else do I need? I need a lot of white. I'm gonna need to buy more white. Thomas painting's probably over. So I get the nice big tube because you tend to use it a lot. At least I do. I guess it depends what you're doing. Here we go. This one's better. It's bigger. It's the same kind of concept, but much bigger. You can actually get a hold of it. Usually I intend to go like light to dark on my palette. Doesn't always work out that way. And in case I'm gonna go into the hair a little bit today, I am gonna add some yellow. And I haven't quite decided what all the other colors will be yet. But I basically have my my figure, my face. All of this is just basically I created a value range on my palette of dark to light in a very neutral gray tone, and that's what I've used basically for the whole thing. There's little bits of the warm underpainting shining through, which I am a big fan of, but there are, outside of just needing to paint makeup on her, there is still tone that should be coming through in her skin and spots, like, in the eye is not just black and white. Anywhere that her skin would kind of come through the makeup a little bit. So I will build up a little bit of actual like warmth notes of skin coming through here and there also. So let's see, what else might I want? I'm going to put down some cobalt blue also, and I think that might be it for our starting point. Okay, so this is basically my palette. It's very much. I've got some primary tones, the red, the yellow, the blue. I've got my Payne's gray and white, and then 2 neutrals. I have my yellow oxide and my, this is burnt sienna. Get those spun around in my head a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to add my slow dry medium from Liquitex. Pretty good stuff. It seems to go a decent way. Try to avoid using the H word. Okay, you got to remind me what I was discussing when I said that. My brain is just free flowing today, and I lost track of what we might have been talking about. I don't know. You'd swear I'd had a ton of coffee today. I really have had like half a cup so far. I just feel good. It's nice. It's actually a kind of dreary day, like rainy-ish day, but I like this kind of weather. It's much cooler, which I'm a big fan of. Like it not being too crazy hot. And all right, I'm just gonna real quick blend in my slow dry medium. So some of the pigments I've laid down. So that will hopefully keep them from getting too gummy and make them be a little bit more workable on my canvas. There's always a point when you're like doing a long painting. Back in the old days, an instructor in an illustration class told one of his students not to say, "I hate acrylics." When he said that while presenting his piece, it puts a student in closed mind mode. Hate, yes. I think that all paints have an interesting range of pros and cons. I learned to work with acrylics. That was like that's what I have always been the most familiar with because I have the most history with it. That's what I learned in like elementary, grade school, and up through high school. That's all we had to work with mostly, outside of a random off project here and there. Never oils. And then even in an illustration major, which was also my major, it just wouldn't work well to work with oils because you were always assuming that your projects you'd have to do would be a quicker turnaround. So we never touched on oil painting there either. And I really got into it just recently. And there's things I love about that, and there's things I love about acrylics, and I'm really comfortable in acrylics. But the trouble that I have is just that if you're sitting down to work on them for a decent amount of time, after about an hour and a half mark, almost on the dot, they start to get kind of tacky and dry, like much more to the point of being really difficult to work with on your palette. So this is just part of the setup. This doesn't really seem to buy me a whole lot of extra time with working with them, but it does when I paint them onto the canvas. They don't set once they're painted on quite as fast, at least in the beginning. And I'm not using a ton of it. It's and I'm making a mess because that's what I do. Yeah, I think with every medium, a bit of a love-hate relationship. It's rainy here in Chicago. I'm at Electric Mud on Western Avenue because the city is doing construction in the alley behind my house. Oh, wonderful. You gotta love that construction. Cafe's playing Jimi Hendrix now. Well, that's not so bad. I always think about, from time to time, I think about going and like working in a cafe for a bit. There's not very many right in my town. There's a couple. And because of that, they tend to be quite packed on these days where people are kind of grabbing their spot to work and just park there. So you can't really, unless you're like a real early riser and you grab your spot, it's tough to like get a working place around here in a cafe. And it's just like, I'm so all over the board in what I do. I'm painting. I mean, there definitely are dedicated times where I'm working on the computer too. And, you know, it honestly, what might be good for that with me is that I am very prone to distractions. And if I were someplace where, like, you're just sitting in this one spot, you got all your stuff, you're here, you're not really going to walk away from it much and sit and do your work. That actually, in theory, might be a better thing. Maybe even like going and working at a library one day, which is closer to me than the cafes are. Okay, what am I doing? All right. To start with, I'm going to kind of go back into initially my neutral tone, what I mixed for that at the beginning, just so that I can kind of just make minor adjustments. Looks about same as what I already had there. Better but flat. See, the nice blending that you can get with wet on wet with oil paints is not really very easy to accomplish when you're working with acrylics. But there are other things that are, because it dries fast, there are different types of advantages to it. You can work fast. I can put some effort into one side of my painting, and by like go up a little ways and then go back and paint over it again because it's going to already be dry. So there's some advantages along those lines. But I think a lot of it is preference and comfort level. The more you work with something, certainly the easier it will feel. But yeah, I totally see the point that your instructor was making about, you know, if you just come out of the gate and you have your decision made about this medium, that it's going to be trash, that it's not going to work, you're not going to like it, then yeah, you really are kind of setting yourself up for a bit of failure there. I think that's the way it is with anything, right? In our lives. If we go into something with our mind made up, we've pretty much created a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I wanted to, because of what this painting is, on one hand, you know, it's going to be a fun, kind of creepy, eerie-ish, Halloweenish painting, but it actually comes from someplace for me to do this. I mentioned in my last stream about how I took part in this money doll show years ago. Oh, and I didn't bring it in. Darn it, I have it out, and I brought it in to show you guys. It's in the living room. Okay. Well, so much for that plan. But, okay, so the idea of it is essentially that it's like masking. It's basically about the psychological as well as literal masking. And I don't know if anybody here is too familiar with that term in psychology, like masking. You might know it from, you know, working in Illustrator and Photoshop. You put a mask over something to hide an area, or use masking tape to hide an area. But this is more of a psychological application of that term, wherein you change who you are, how you act, how you present yourself in certain circumstances. And if you think you don't think that might be you, think to like how you speak and are around your friends versus how you speak or are around people at your work. Like if you work with like in a professional way or otherwise, how you behave around, like if you've ever had a relationship of any sort with a person who was toxic, like whether somebody in the family or otherwise, where you maybe tiptoed around a person. You responded in certain ways to try to avoid confrontation, maybe. That's a type of masking. Fawning is a type of masking if you're a people pleaser. And for anybody who is on an autism spectrum, they actually like completely categorize that type of masking all on its own, because it's such a severe thing that people do to try to cover who they are, to look more acceptable, to function more normally and not draw attention to themselves in ways that might not be accepted or considered normal. If you were bullied as a kid, you probably learned to mask things to try to avoid attention about things about yourself, or hide things about yourself to try to avoid that attention. There's so many levels to it, and it's something that we can learn very young. And it's something that we use to varying levels just to, you know, survive in the world to our best of our abilities, but it can be a harmful thing if we do it a lot. If it becomes like a significant part of how we function in the world regularly, first of all, it's exhausting. Like, you actually will exhaust yourself doing that to the point of potentially burnout. And even if some people don't even realize that they're doing it, like, it's not a conscious choice that you've made. It's just something that you do. It's just something you've learned to do without thinking about it too much. It can lead to depression if you do it a lot, because you are basically squashing yourself a lot of the time. And the presentation of wearing makeup presents an interesting parallel to me. Because for some people it is, you wear makeup to look more acceptable, to fit a part, to fit a role, to fit in, to establish your status, the way that you look, how you behave and look. And see here, I'm doing the pause while I think and paint at the same time. I can't help it, folks, I'm sorry. Yeah, And of course, clown makeup being a very extreme version of that. So that is kind of why I've been drawn to this type of character. I haven't done anything with it for a while, but it's been ever since I did that one piece, that money doll that looked like a cute little clown, sad clown. This has been in my mind. And I didn't even, the time I made that, I didn't know why. I didn't understand what these things were, the terminology of them exactly, but I was aware of it on a level. And then over time, you might kind of learn, you hear these things talked about more, and then it makes more sense. Suddenly you can put something into words that you couldn't necessarily before. That's been my case. And that's been the way that I've been about a lot of things over the years. I have used art to talk about and process things that I couldn't put into words for forever. I was basically using art like therapy forever, and I didn't realize it. Like, I have stuff going back to, especially, well, I mean, high school sketchbook, that's just embarrassing. But, here. Sorry, let me double check my screen. Because, what's going on? I think everybody can see me all right, but my page that has me streaming is kind of locked up, but it appears to be working. So we're just gonna continue, I guess. Well, guys, I don't know why that is the case, but I can see it on my iPad still playing, so we're just gonna assume everything's okay. Right? Anyway. Yeah, high school sketchbooks are frightening. I mean, it's very angsty stuff. It's like, it's not much different from the equivalence of like writing bad poetry as a teenager. It's the same kind of thing. I'm gonna need to get a smaller brush to do some of this stuff, but I'm just sort of getting things in place for more details as I go. Yeah. And then certainly well into my 20s with some places that I was in my life that were kind of dark. And I didn't realize I was doing it. And then like years later, you look at your art and you're like, oh my God. Wow, how obvious is this? How incredibly obvious is it that what I was painting here, and I would just be like, oh, this is just what comes out of me, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I've used art as like therapy forever without understanding. Like, it was just a way of communicating in a way that when I didn't know how else to, essentially. Yeah, I'm using my finger here quite a lot because it is a very effective tool that just comes attached to your body at birth. Kind of nice like that. And I do think I want to pull some of the hair, like a piece of the hair kind of coming forward over into the face a little bit, so I will have to adjust and add probably some shadow for that once I have that done, but I'm not adding that right now yet. I'm just sort of trying to get the hair a little bit more attached to her. because when you first just block it in like that, it's sort of just sitting on top. And well, as a little clown lady, she very well might be wearing a wig. This might not be her actual hair. Still don't want it to look like it's just floating out in the world of God knows what. It is attached to her. Either way, it is attached. Okay. I think I wouldn't mind pulling a little more dark in here. So when it comes to like masking, how much of a concern is it? Like, do you need to be worried? I think, like, if you're just, like, I don't know, if it's the kind of situation where it's just like I go to work and I have to, you know, behave this way in a professional environment, I don't think that that's too much of a concern. It's more of a worry if, say, like, if it's really affecting, if you can figure out if it's, like, really affecting your mental well-being. Do you struggle with anxiety and depression? Do you feel like you don't have connection with yourself? In that kind of situation, you might, if you feel that way at all, you might want to take some time to just sort of try to reconnect with who you are. And if you feel like you're going to be judged for it, like, where is that coming from? And is it true? I think that, like, obviously, I mentioned it's pretty common with people who have autism, certainly. But I think in other kind of neurodivergent situations, it's also a thing. You have, especially women with ADHD tend to just internalize it. People who are in or have been in violent living situations. That's a very real thing. Learning to mask to survive sometimes. And then how do you stop? So there's like some element of self-care that is probably necessary. Like spending time with you. Maybe that's doing some journaling. Maybe therapy. I mean, for real, always. Therapy is an amazing tool if you have it available to you. And just try to, like, normalizing that we're all sorts of different people that behave in all sorts of different ways and see the world and function, and that's okay, because that's a beautiful thing. One of my favorite phrases that I say and use sometimes is to embrace or nurture the weird. And the reason for that is what makes us weird, or quirky, or awkward, or all the things. The things that we so often have felt like maybe are not okay socially, that makes us stand out in ways we don't want to, that leads people to judge us. But those are the things about us that make us truly who we are. And how sad for the people who would judge you for that, because they're probably doing the same thing, trying to pretend that they are just this standard model human being, which, guess what, doesn't exist. So yeah, following your curiosities and your interests and the things that actually deeply make you happy. The more we can tap into that stuff without judgment, the more that we allow ourselves to explore just where our brains really want to take us without judgment. That's, to me, nurturing the weird. Allow ourselves to be ourselves. And who we are is always changing too, right? Like, none of us are just a static thing. That's just not humanity. That's just not being alive. So being curious about anything you want to be curious about. I think my way of approaching things is to basically be yourself, just, do no harm. And then nobody has really the right to judge you, say that it's wrong, or to say that you shouldn't be this person. But, the crux of that is to do no harm. I adjusted where my camera is a little bit, and my reference photo is behind the camera, so that's why you see me peeking out to the side all goofy, like, every now and again here, while I'm looking at my reference image. Okay. How are we doing? I'm getting better all the time. Might just kind of smooth out some things here. They're very chaotic brush strokes going on. I don't know if there's anything like weird or out of the ordinary, whatever, that you've just always been interested in and never like felt comfortable pursuing it, or just haven't bothered with for one reason or another. I'm curious. I constantly have the most random rabbit holes that I can go down. It can get very random. All right. Sorry where the bra was. Tripping over the chairs. Okay, one more line I'd like to smooth out here on the ridge of the nose. It's not quite right. I will fix that though. Okay. Hmm. I could fuss around with this forever. Sometimes some very minor things can make a very big difference. Too. Just a tiny little brush stroke here, a tiny little change of the tone of something can really just affect the whole feel of something. I think I'm going to switch to a smaller brush now. What we got? Way smaller. What was I doing now? Oh, yeah. I know what I was looking at. Okay, I think I might start... Let me do a little tweaking to the ear, and then with my tiny brush, and then I might add a few hairs coming in, and then we can maybe start adding some color in the eyes and such a little bit. Start playing around with that. Did I ever mention how much I love painting ears? I'm pretty sure I do, like, every time. I do. Ears and noses. How delightfully weird they are. I watched a couple of couple more movies, scary movies, because like when October's here, that's my kind of favorite way. Like I watch them all the time, but it's my favorite kind of way to just like relax after the day is over, and you know, maybe an hour or two before you're gonna get ready for bed, just some time to chill. And I've seen a few. I always manage to get... It's literally getting to the point where it's almost hard to find things that I haven't seen before that might be good, like genuinely good. It's really hit or miss at this point. Like I'm looking at a lot of very indie films or really old things that aren't super mainstream that kind of went under the radar. One movie that I've seen ages ago a couple times now that's pretty bad but fun is Night of the Demons. It's got Linnea Quigley in it, and there's like an infamous scene with her and a tube of lipstick. And it's a ridiculous movie. But they remade it a couple years back. Well, I think it was 2010. Who was in it? Anybody that anyone knows? Edward Furlong was in it randomly. I don't know that I know any of the other people from anything else off the top of my head. Probably at least one girl looked familiar, at least from other stuff, which doesn't mean much in terms of me being able to tell you who she was. But fun and dumb and very much appropriate remake of that particular movie. It was very... yeah, they hit it. They got it right. It didn't need to be a masterpiece. It never was. So just kind of dumb, fun, and over the top. It's a little more risque, the newer version. Like, quite a bit more, we'll say. So definitely not for the kiddies. But otherwise it's kind of dumb fun. And then a couple slightly more random things. I watched Q the Winged Serpent, which was 1982. It's David Carradine in it, and Richard Roundtree. And Michael Moriarty. And something about that movie, it's kind of nutty in ways. It's very, like, ridiculous premise, but the acting is quite good. And in that respect, this... I don't remember who made it, and I'm blanking on it. But that was fun. It was kind of... it takes place in New York in 1982, and there is literally this winged serpent wreaking havoc, snatching people off rooftops and things, and all these different elements going on. And just, yeah, some really good acting in that. I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. The effects are all practical, so this winged serpent is all is claymation primarily, and it's really pretty interesting. Apparently they made the movie really fast, really cheap, and then after they filmed the movie, they took it to effects guys and were like, okay, we need you to make us a monster. And they're like, all right, well, tell us what you have in mind for shooting, and we'll tell you how much space and time we need in these different areas. And they're like, no, it's already shot. You gotta just put it in there. Will the clown have an earring? Ooh. Hadn't thought about that, Jim. Good question. I will decide that before the next stream. Yes, I will have to think about that one a little bit. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Kind of should, shouldn't she? Seems like she should. Yeah, I would recommend. I don't think that there's, I don't think that it's an R-rated movie. I think that it's more like a PG-13. If it is R, that there's some language. And, like, the violence is, like, you know, it's kind of cheesy and you don't see too much after effects of some things, maybe. But, yeah, it's not like today's gore-fest horror movies, which are usually pretty awful. And the last one I saw was a random independent film called As Above, So Below. Folks going down into the catacombs under Paris, trying to look for something, and all the stuff that goes wrong, and it gets kind of crazy, and there's some kind of meaning involved into it all, and you can kind of read into it what you want. It was not bad. It was interesting. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. Okay, some of the ear will probably have some of the hair covering it, but I wanted to get it pretty well rendered in there before we did that. It looks crazy bright the way the light's hitting it compared to everything else. Right now on the camera I can see that. Just this little bit. One thing about getting really detailed into certain areas of your painting, the more detailed you get, the more attention it will probably draw. So you want to control a little bit of that too if you're doing stuff like that. I'm probably going to need to push back the ear a little bit. A little bit. So those are the movies I've watched recently. I still want to go back and dig into Lovecraft Country a little bit more. I want to see where that goes. I just saw the first 1 or 2 episodes so far and enjoyed it. And I would like to see what they do with it. And Follow the House of Usher. I think that's out. Is today the 12th? I think it's out today. What is that one on? I think that might be on Netflix. I'm excited about that because that's an Edgar Allan Poe story. Since I was a kid, I've had this like graphic novel version of it that was super violent and amazing. Oh. Come on. Do you have my back? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. How long was my sound out for? I'm just talking and talking and talking and talking. I don't even remember what I was talking about. That's the problem. I have the mic really close to where I'm painting right now. I apologize. Oh my gosh, you guys. Brilliant. This is the kind of day that I'm going to have, apparently. It's okay. It's okay. I was talking about ears and how, like, if you put that, I thought it was a little too bright. So I was toning it back a little bit because as much as I love it, I don't want it to be like super in anyone's face as like the primary thing. Some hair will probably cover it. And then I think I was started talking about how I wanted to go still watch what's it called? Oh, I was just saying it, Lovecraft Country. I still want to see that. Go back and watch that. Depending on how long my sound is on, I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. The mute button being right on the top of the mic is like the worst place ever. It is really the worst place ever for the mute button to be. I mean, I get that, so like if you just need it to be convenient for you for things you do, that's great, but for someone like me, much less convenient because I'm accident prone. I think I better have some more coffee. Oh my god. Sorry, y'all. It's me living my best life over here. And my coffee's getting a little cold. I'll need to refill that. Oh yeah, boy. All right. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna add a few little like very tiny little hairs coming out. As they would. I am and have always been a walking disaster. That's a problem when you're your own, like, you know, production and editing team and everything. There's nobody right next to me to be like, hey, you hit the thing, come on. So I have to look at the chat, and then there's that gap. I don't know exactly how long the gap is, the delay, but there is a, like, no matter, it is unavoidable that there's a delay between what I say and do and when you see it. So, and of course, when I'm concentrating on what I'm doing on the canvas, I'm maybe not looking at the chat as much, so yeah. I've at least been remembering to check and make sure that I don't have my mic muted when I start my stream. I've at least been good at checking that. There's still no sound? Oh my gosh, my mic is on though. I don't know. I don't know why. All right. Let me test some things. Oh. Okay. Kelly, you can hear? Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. Because I just turned up I have the volume all the way off when I have my chat up, so I don't have echo, but I did hear a voice when I checked it. Hello, welcome. Sorry, you came right in the middle of some chaos. All right, I hope we're good now. I could see that I have levels for my mic, so fingers crossed. I'm going to maybe move it a little bit while I'm working. It might be in the camera a little bit, but at least I am less likely to hit it with my brush now. Oh my goodness. Hello, hello. I hope I'm back. Hi. That's funny. What can I do? I am good at breaking things. I am good at messing things up. I am really good at walking into and doing things. You've heard me the whole time? Oh, thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know then, Jim, what's going on. That was on my answer. Oh, okay. Oh boy. Okay. Glad that we have things straightened out, but you were right before. I did actually have the mic off for a little bit. I had bumped it at some point, but I don't know how long it was. I think either that or I bumped it when I was trying to turn it back on and off. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Ignore me. It's, just, I never know what's happening. Okay. Add a couple little highlights on just these little hairs. And it's kind of funny that I'm doing these little detail areas here along here and here with the hair, because I haven't done much with all of that, but just what's over the skin, just kind of trying to have have it be a little, it can be a little more done right there. If I cover it up in the end, I don't think I'm going to work into that particular area too much, but it'll be fine. Well, that's probably... Okay. A while ago, I said that I was going to start adding some of the color stuff in on the face, not the makeup yet. I kind of have the base of the white makeup base there, but we gotta start adding a little bit of color, like into the eyes, because even when we're wearing makeup, our eyeballs are not black and white. Even if you're wearing contact lenses. Well, there are some crazy effects for our eyes. I know you can get the contact lenses that are like a big black thing, but you still have, you know, the little corners of the eyes, the fleshy little bits. I don't actually know what the term for that is. I know there probably is a term for it. So we're just gonna kind of start with some more transparency passes. From there, anywhere where there might be some pinkish tone, and right now what I have mixed looks like it blends really nicely with the tone of the canvas below, so that works kind of nicely. So I just have very, very thin down layer of color. Start putting on a little bit at a time. And she will have some kind of lipstick on. Certainly. We're probably going to see a little bit of the flesh on the inside of the lip. Sorry, I'm listening on my TV. I had to get my iPad to come and... Oh, well, thank you. I very much appreciate you letting us know, Kelly. It's I know I watch a lot of YouTube on my TV too, and it's always like you feel a little more disconnected because getting back in to do something like that. But thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. That means a lot. And we'll need a little bit of darker red. There's some in this area. Like the waterline under the eye. Would have some color to it. And since I was talking about, well, since I'm doing what's going to be a clown lady, and I was talking about masking and even how like makeup ties into that. I had to break out some fun lipstick. I rarely ever put it on because it's just like, eh. But yeah, it seemed like the right occasion. This was a go-to when I was in high school. Of course, it's not the same tube because that'd be gross. But back when I was in high school, I was like the goth kid, the freak, whatever. I enjoyed that very much because I just didn't care about trying to be a part of anything. And on the days where I didn't want to do my whole black eyeliner thing, I would sometimes just put on mascara and purple lipstick. Going to relocate. We're back a few minutes. Okay, we'll see you in a bit, Jim. It was a go-to, and a few years back when I saw that they started selling some fun colors again, I couldn't resist. I tend to not think that most I always feel weird mostly wearing lipstick. For some reason, not so much this shade, but most colors, it feels weird. Just weird. I think I'm not used to it, and I probably am not good at picking out the colors for myself. Which, give me a canvas and some paints and I'll pick out some colors, but when it comes to myself, a little less confident in it. I don't know why. It's like applying what you know to yourself. It's a whole different ballgame. Okay, and then if I want to add in, I'm trying to think of what color maybe to make her eyes. So that's the next question. Okay. Try using my brain here for a second. I've got the nearly blacks and white. I've got the yellow oxide and the red. So perhaps something leaning... Maybe we'll go with like a nice kind of eerie blue color, maybe. We can try that. If it doesn't work, we can always change it up. But I'm going to keep it still a little dark. We'll just build up and see what we think as it goes. Okay, I don't hate it, but it's also not that interesting. Let's see. Push them a little more violet. It's very dark. I'm not sure how much that's showing up. I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, it's very subtle, so you're probably not seeing too much yet. Because I'm kind of placing fairly transparent layers over basically black. So it's a little bit of like building up. I do like the more violet color much better. So we'll kind of, I think we'll go with that. So we're gonna need to have some, that's the dark. I gotta start putting in some lighter bits too. This guy is so much in shadow that we're just going very, very light on it. When talking about like makeup in the realms of masking, I can definitely speak to that, as like I said, when I was younger, I went full on into the whole, you know, goth kid thing, and the way that I dressed and the way that I did makeup and behaved was all a way of creating a wall, right? It's a little bit almost defensive. Like daring people to get close to you or to come talk to you, like just like leave me alone. It should be clear that I want to be left alone. It's that kind of thing. So I think that there's a tie in there too. A little bit subtle. I think I wouldn't mind pushing the saturation a little bit. Not gonna change that eye much. That might be as light as I let that one get. So we get that like reflected light in the iris a little bit, but it's all in shadow, so I don't think I want that to be any brighter than that. That might be okay. I think I need to correct my pupil a little bit though. Ooh, that got creepy. I like it. I'm going to probably use a different color paint to try to really push it, but that's... I'm liking that tone. My photo one more time here. Alright, and then I might build up a little bit of... Some skin tone might shine through right around the eyes. The eyes are usually a place where makeup is applied pretty heavily. So there might not be a ton, but just a little bit. Because the makeup doesn't always stay so perfectly either all day long, right? There is a method of painting called, I'm probably gonna say this wrong, it's called grisaille, where you start with a monotone single value. You can fully render up your painting. Oh, Jim's back, hello. And once you have it, kind of like what I have here, then you can add some layers of just pigment over that, translucent, so that you still have the value range coming through, but you can that's one way to do some things. I've never really done that much, but I'm kind of doing that here in a manner. And all I'm using is a little bit of water to create the glaze effect. So I have the slow drying medium mixed into my pigments already, or whatever that's worth. And then it's just thinning it down a little bit with water to do the rest of this. Like anywhere where you're likely to have much in the way of like creases in your skin is likely going to be the kind of areas where we're going to see the makeup break a little bit. Especially the kind of like the makeup that we would use for doing a clown face. You're going to have more creasing happen than you might with like putting on powder-based eyeshadow, powder-based makeup, because I think it's usually more of a cream base generally. Oh, there's Watson. Hi, little guy. Hey, you. Did you come to say hi? Yeah. Lately, he's been taking to want to like jump on me, like running, jump, and try to land with his claws. Like, oh, he's way too big to do that. Last time, well, I had him at the vet a few weeks back, and he weighed in at 15.25 pounds, and he's still a pretty lean guy. Like that's not him being a fat cat, that's just him being a big guy. We gotta go back tomorrow, actually. Don't tell him. Because he was getting over a little infection. They couldn't do his shots, so we get to go back tomorrow and get the shots, so yay! There's an element of overexposure in what I'm seeing from the camera. Let me see. I'll turn this down here. Nope, that was up. Did we get any better? Look at the color. No, that's too dark. It's always a fine line to walk to get the lighting right, because too much light and things get washed out on the camera, or you get reflections happening off of the texture of the canvas with the lights. The other flip side of that is that, then if it's too dark, of course, you're not seeing much then either. Let me see. Moving a little bit more. Nope, now we need to go back. Okay. Well, since I'm focusing on the face right now, I think this is okay. Switch to a slightly larger round brush. Round brush is a little bit nicer for kind of getting smooth blending. And especially in any larger areas, I definitely want to size up my brush a little bit. So I'm kind of focusing on getting some... It's most important to me to get a little bit more of the color around the eye area. The flesh color kind of shining through there. Because, I mean, a decent amount of this will yet get covered up when I put on her clown makeup, but it's sort of like any places where in between, I'll already have it all set up and ready to go. Oh my goodness. You are so cute. He's rolling over in between my feet. So still just very light, translucent-y layers of color. Even on this other eye that's mostly in very dark tones, still let some of that come in there. Yeah, I do wish that the camera was getting a slightly truer reproduction of what is happening there. One thing with the tone that I'm mixing to add on as like a little glaze is I'm not including any black of my black tone, the Payne's Gray, or white. We're just going kind of straight pigment because it's going in thin and I can add more layers of it. going in with a little bit of a green tone right now. Very, very faint. There are places on our skin, of course, where oh, you can hear the spooky music now? Good. That was fun. Finally got that. I meant to do it for the last couple streams, and I finally got it done. And then the only trick is going to be remembering to switch it off once it is no longer spooky season. Which seems a little bit like a shame to do, but, you know, I could be reasonable. I'm working in this almost teal color, which it looks like the camera's picking up as more of just like a greenish gray. It's definitely got some blue green to it, but just like hitting the places where like you're more likely to have that kind of those veins through on your skin. The cooler tones. I actually do need to add a little bit more white in there. Just making some adjustments as we go. Let's see what's happening. I think that's starting to help to create a little bit extra depth. Pull out a little bit and see. No. Can't see that a little better. Ears have a lot of redness to them because they're quite thin and almost have a transparent quality to them to begin with when light is shining from behind them. So I'm not shirking back from adding too much color there. Starting to feel pretty good about that. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Rosalie, is that, I hope I'm saying that right. Welcome. Thank you for checking out the mess I'm making. She's eventually going to be Clown Lady. So I'm kind of working up some layers. like very, very thin layers of some color right now. I think I might add a layer to the background now. I feel like this is probably a good spot to do that. As I go and do not that. Yeah, I'm working my way to it. Just, you know, when you have that one color on your palette, you're like, oh, what's the other spot? Oh, my cat's just sitting here watching paint. It's being very quiet. I'm impressed. Okay, so background. I've just done washes primarily with grays and whites over the underpainting. Let me think. And I like having the underpainting showing through. Like, I'm gonna leave at least some of that deliberately coming out. So let's see here. What can we make that will be interesting? I think still maybe a bit of a mostly neutral, but I might warm it up a little bit. Well, warm isn't the right word necessarily. I want it to be neutral, but not specifically the white and pure like gray colors that I had there so far. So I'm gonna try to find the right balance of what I want that to look like on my palette here. Just some push and pull of we might get to. That's too purple. I don't want it to be too yellow because the hair has a lot of yellow tones in it thus far. So I'm gonna give this a try. A little tan-ish, but I'm gonna allow some other stuff to break through on that too. And yeah, I am painting over where the hair is right now. But that will be okay. Spritz bottle. Oh. Hope I zoomed out so you could see everything I'm doing. Yeah. There we go. A little better. that I'm seeing this layer on, I think I'm going to, it is still going to need more than this. Sorry, I know I hit the mic there on the brush. Apologies for that one. Didn't hit the mute button at least this time. Okay. Now before that dries, grab it where I don't want it to go, and clean my yeah, that's a little muddy and busy. So yeah, a few more layers. I want it to be a texture, but not, but I will keep adjusting and adding more to kind of build it and kind of push and pull on how translucent those layers are going to be. So, let's see. I think I might pull in some raw umber on my palette a little bit. Practically brand new tube of paint there. And as long as I'm thinking about it... Oh my god, we've been 2 hours at it. Okay. Well, then that means it's getting close to time for me to wrap up. But that being the case, I want to just, a little obligatory, you know, if you enjoy, don't forget to like, and if you're not subscribed and you want to see how this painting turns out, because I'm almost done with today's session, do subscribe to follow along. I have the first 2 sessions linked in the description of this video, and I do this twice a week. Work on different projects live, different things. Just chat and paint, hang out. So it is a good time. You get to see me drop things, and sometimes I make something cool, but I do drop things a lot. So there's that. And I've started blogging. Or, well, okay, I haven't posted it yet, but I'm writing blogs. I'm about to post them live. I don't know if anybody's, like, it's going to be a lot about mental health, especially for women, because that's where I can speak of it from a place of experience. And if you have any interest in that, if you hop over to my website and sign up for my email newsletter, those blog posts will get will go out, and the intention is to do them weekly. As somebody who has ADHD, it probably won't always be weekly. I will do the best I can to be consistent. I think I might cover up this corner altogether. But yeah, that's any interest, do click on the link to my website and sign up for my email list will come up. And I send out information on paintings as I finish them, as I add them to my shop and they become available. And the blog posts go out that way too. So it's kind of just, you know, some artsy news stuff. And it's going to be like information that I'm learning and sharing, as well as resources and tips. So if you have any curiosity or you'd like to, you're interested, like there's a lot of gaps in care, diagnosis and care across the board for mental health, and a lot of people have issues with it. Like there's such a stigma about it, but it should be relatively normalized because it's so common. Just women alone, 1 in 5 women in the last year were diagnosed with a mental illness. So anything from depression to anxiety, postpartum, eating disorders, addictions, bipolar disorder, borderline personality, like all these things that trauma. There's so many things that are happening, and yet so much of it still doesn't get talked about, or it's like something that we treat like something to be ashamed of. So I'll be talking a lot about all of those things. Some of it from my own experience, but also with some research and statistics and things that I'm finding and are interesting, and tips on just, you know, doing our best to live our best lives. Resources. But otherwise, if you're not interested in that, if you just like watching the videos, well, please remember to subscribe and yeah, just jump on, because every week, Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm outside of Chicago, so Central Time here in the U.S., Midwest. And then Thursday mornings, today, 10 a.m. Central Time. Every week. About an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how things are going and what's happening, but just creating, chatting, hanging out. Well, I definitely need some more work there, but I think this is a good place to stop for the day. I gotta let all that junk dry before I can add any more onto it. And my next stream, because I think the face is at some place where I'm really happy with it, at least at the moment, wait till I sleep on it, where I'm gonna save doing her makeup for kind of the last thing. But so we'll be really pulling the background together and doing her hair probably next week. That'll be the focus. And we'll just keep plugging along on this. And I'm excited. You know, paintings go through that up and down. You're not so sure it's gonna work, that it's coming together. And then suddenly it kind of is. And then suddenly it isn't anymore. It's just that constant roller coaster process of just working through, pushing through, getting it to where you want it to be. But yeah, that's where we are now. As it just feels right to do something like that. It's all gonna get It'll get figured out. Actually, that's a little better. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody who's popped in to say hi or just watch a little bit, I appreciate you so much. And I hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope yours is filled with lots of amazing things and creativity and inspiration. So I'll see you all, hopefully, Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Bye.